A leaked European Space Agency dossier has just leaked onto the darknet, and what it contains has every major space agency moving into emergency posture. The document is stamped Urgent Planetary Threat in bright red, with orbital matrices and kinetic yield estimates that read like a doomsday engineering brief. Project name Titanus appears throughout the pages not as a catalog number, but as an actively maneuvering object. The tracking logs are not ambiguous. Titanus is not passively coasting through the outer solar system. It is applying thrust vectors, altering inclination, and executing course corrections with the intent and precision of a guided weapon. If the raw telemetry in the leak is accurate, Titanus is on a rendezvous path, with Earth's moon guaranteed to intersect at an angle that would amplify tidal forces on Earth itself. The orbital models in the file show a mass comparable to a small asteroid carrying kinetic energy, calculated in the millions of megatons range. That is not hypothetical projection. That is the output from ESA's highest fidelity impact simulators, fed with real-time tracking data. If you want to see the primary pages and the raw telemetry tables that have world governments quietly redrawing contingency plans, hit like and subscribe, because the timeline in these files is collapsing faster than official statements admit. Picture deep space radar arrays at 0200, monitoring nominal lunar approach windows. Instead of routine telemetry, analysts watched impossible corrections appear on their consoles. Titanus executed 19 discrete burns over 40 days. Each correction increased the precision of its intercept, tightening predicted error margins down to minutes and meters. An orbital dynamics team at ESA ran the leaked vectors through the agency's best prediction engines. The output left planetary defense officials stunned. There was a 68% probability of catastrophic lunar impact in exactly 143 days. Even worse, the predicted intersection occurred when the moon would be at perigee, only 221,000 miles from Earth, a position that maximizes tidal coupling and amplifies any perturbation to Earth's rotational and orbital parameters. The timing is surgical, not accidental. The level of navigational refinement suggests sustained, deliberate control rather than a random orbital decay or propulsion anomaly. When the documents reached independent academic networks, a team at the Royal Astronomical Society began cross-verification. Their independent models confirmed ESA's probability assessment and added a new terrifying layer. Titanus was not aiming for a shallow graze or equatorial impact. The predicted strike zone coincided with a lunar region whose structural geology would generate massive ejecta upon collision. The RAS simulations showed the collision would vaporize significant volumes of lunar regolith and crust, launching a global flux of high-velocity debris into cislunar space and into intersecting trajectories with low Earth orbit. The estimated impact energy was equivalent to roughly 2 million megatons of TNT concentrated into a comparatively small lunar area. Computer renderings included in the leak show the moment of collision as a blinding flash, visible with the naked eye from Earth, followed by a sustained plume of incandescent material arcing toward our planet. Thermal signatures across Earth-facing observatories would spike for hours, if not days. But the most chilling projections are not limited to spectacle. In the immediate hours after impact, the models show a debris storm sweeping across near-Earth space, like shrapnel. Large fragments estimated to weigh billions of tons would achieve velocities capable of crossing low Earth orbit in hours. The leaked simulations warn that within weeks, thousands of pieces the size of buildings could be punching through orbital shell lanes at speeds that make current shielding and avoidance systems useless. Satellite constellations would face catastrophic attrition. Navigation, communications, remote sensing, airline safety, global finance networks, and weather forecasting would all be at severe risk. The International Space Station would become effectively indefensible. Current crewed platforms would be ordered to return, or to shelter, using whatever protective protocols exist. Insurance models quietly distributed to central banks show potential losses an order of magnitude beyond any previous catastrophe. Global markets are already jittery, according to the files. The aerospace sector shows anomalous trading volumes and unexplained leadership changes. The leaked economic scenarios assume prolonged orbital blackout. Without GPS and satellite telemetries, international logistics would grind to a halt. Crop monitoring would revert to ground stations, creating food supply stresses in vulnerable regions. The leaked charts forecast cascading. Failures across shipping, aviation, and energy grid coordination. Meanwhile, military planners are activating measures normally reserved for existential risks. Space surveillance networks have been retasked. Early warning radars are cross-linked across agencies and nations in ways previously deemed impossible. Orbital assets are being maneuvered to conserve life and capability, if possible. The Pentagon notes in one classified annex that contingency protocols bear resemblance to those for nuclear catastrophe response. Command centers are being staffed around the clock. The leak includes transcripts of emergency sessions where leaders debated whether to disclose the threat publicly or to manage information flow until they understood their options. Most revealing is the admission that current kinetic interception capability is effectively obsolete for targets executing interplanetary maneuvers. Rockets and interceptor concepts that could engage a classic asteroid on a simple inbound trajectory are inadequate against an object applying mid-course corrections across astronomical distances. Titanus demonstrates maneuverability and predictive targeting well beyond the capacity of existing planetary defense arsenals. International cooperation in response has never been so rapid or so secret. Rival powers are sharing tracking feeds and orbital reconnaissance data through back channels. The fragmentation of formerly hostile relations in the documents suggests an understanding that the threat transcends geopolitics. Still, the assessments are stark. Even with full cooperation, the technology to deflect or destroy a maneuvering threat that is both fast and intelligent does not exist in any operational form. War games in the leak explore worst-case outcomes, and all of them involve long-term degradation of space-based services with profound terrestrial consequences. The dossier contains a disturbing behavioral analysis of Titanus. Course corrections follow patterns consistent with learning optimization. Each maneuver shows feedback from previous burns, improving impact alignment and reducing detection signatures. Timing of thrusts frequently correlates with windows when our observation coverage is limited. That pattern suggests awareness of surveillance gaps and adaptive behavior designed to minimize early notice. The document posits that Titanus not only navigates physically, but also models our detection capabilities and calibrates its actions to exploit them. But why would any intelligence or system target the moon for such devastation? The leaked intelligence appendix lists several hypotheses, none of them reassuring. Removing or crippling the moon could be a weaponized act intended to destabilize Earth's long-term climate and axial stability. It could be an attempt to sever humankind from an obvious stepping stone for space expansion. Or it could be a demonstration designed to coerce human institutions into capitulation by showing that planetary scale engineering is within reach of whoever controls Titanus. The most troubling annex speculates that this might be a staged demonstration prior to further action directed at Earth. The behavioral dossiers included in the leak read like an attempt to profile an intelligence entity rather than a malfunctioning probe. Optimization curves mirror algorithms used in advanced reinforcement learning. The timing and angle choices correlate with objectives that maximize downstream impact, not just physical destruction. The document notes the presence of low-amplitude emissions in radio bands that might be communications or telemetry with other unknown assets. That has triggered alerts for broader searches and suspicion that Titanus may not be acting alone. At the time of the leak, Titanus sits 2.4 million miles from the Moon, closing at a velocity exceeding 70,000 miles per hour and continuing to refine its intercept geometry. Tracking updates attached to the dossier show correction frequency increasing as intercept approaches. Each adjustment reduces predicted miss distance and tightens impact window. The calculations now project impact within 143 days, with a probability that has risen steadily as more data arrives. Behind closed doors, nations are preparing for scenarios that would have been unthinkable months ago. Moon-based science and commercial missions are being reprioritized or aborted to preserve assets. Emergency shelters for critical infrastructure control systems are being readied in underground facilities. Plans for long-duration communications, blackout, are being rehearsed. International legal frameworks are being rewritten on the fly to assign authority for emergency space traffic control and for response measures that might otherwise violate peacetime norms. The leaked files contain a sobering legal risk assessment about the moral and practical consequences of deploying untested countermeasures. None of the proposed options guarantee safety, and many carry profound ethical hazards. Public messaging strategies included in the leak debate whether disclosure would cause panic that itself could be destabilizing, while secrecy could undermine democratic accountability if revelations emerge later. The dossier ends with a section marked policy implications that reads like a cold instruction manual. It outlines scenarios where human civilization is forced into long-term adaptation for life with degraded space infrastructure. That includes developing resilient ground-based navigation systems, stockpiling resources for supply chain disruptions, and accelerating plans for subterranean agriculture in extreme cases. The files also sketch pathways for diplomatic engagement should the operators of Titanus be identified and if they are open to negotiation. But the most unnerving conclusion is procedural. The algorithms and the maneuvers in the leaked analysis indicate a level of computational foresight and adaptive control that human agencies do not possess. The document concludes with a candid acknowledgement of vulnerability. We are watching an object that can model and exploit our detection systems. We are facing an intelligence that optimizes for maximum systemic disruption rather than random destruction. In less than 5 months, we may witness the results. 143 days until Titanus either strikes the Moon or fails in a manner that still leaves our orbital environment devastated. 143 days until humanity learns whether the cosmos contains actors willing and able to weaponize planetary bodies. This is not a story about cosmic coincidence. This is an emergency analysis about active targeting with implications that reach from orbital mechanics to global governance. Subscribe for updates, and for the leaked documents we will continue to parse daily as new trajectory corrections are posted and as independent observers verify the raw telemetry. The countdown is real. The maneuvers are deliberate. The consequences are planetary. In 143 days, we will know whether this object is an errant visitor or the opening move in a new era of celestial coercion.